Hey guys, welcome to another edition of On Social, the show that talks about everything that has to do with social media marketing, live video, live professional video on social media, and all that good stuff that help you build your brand. And today we want to talk about a really interesting topic because I think a lot of people they focus on just the internet. And I know my co-host has a lot to say about that. We've got with us Mr. Marty McPadden from podjam.tv. How are you, sir?
Hello, Stephen. How are you?
I'm doing well. I think this show is going to be interesting because we're talking about raising brand awareness, and you and I had a discussion about this about mixing internet-based broadcasts with actual in-person physical connection, right?
Yeah,
S-
that's how we first met in person that way.
well, this was something I know. I know people are kind of wow. They started right into this. This is a new way we're going to be doing the show. We're going to just dive right in it. We're going to start right at the top of the hour. So if you're tuning in and it's like, wow, these guys they're live. 2 o'clock, right on the button. We're going to go live. We're going to be on, and then we're going to go off. And we've got some great stuff for you. So you want to stay tuned in this half hour. We've got a jam-packed show. We're going to show our video that we did in Leipzig, Germany. Not the whole thing, but we're going to kind of go through it and talk a
Yep.
little bit about it. Um, that in-person connection and also that online connection. But we're also going to show we have a Wirecast tip for you guys. So a lot of cool stuff. So Marty, let's kind of dive into this.
Yeah, absolutely. So raising brand awareness, right? There's a lot of things. We talk a lot about live video, how to produce your show, technical things, content. We've talked a lot about that in our. It's funny, Stephen. You just raised this is our 40th show, so we've talked a lot about these topics. But then again, it's about your brand as well. And, what do you do when the show's over or before the show? What can you, there's things you can do, right?
Yep.
One of the main areas, and I know you have done a nice job with this, especially on Instagram, is social media, leveraging social media to connect with audiences. So, one of the ways besides doing live streaming shows is leveraging other platforms and building audience and building engagement um, beyond your show. So platforms, using social media as platforms to build awareness by sharing content. That's an excellent way to do it. Just some of the things that come to mind are, say, if you have a live show and you may want to do like a teaser video, something coming up on today's, on social, we're going to cover, XYZ, and maybe do like a 15-second teaser video or a little upcoming, and we call it teaser because it teases the show. It gets
Mhm.
people interested, and that's an something ideal piece of content you can share on social media platforms to extend that reach and maybe hopefully even, not only engage with the current audience, but also hopefully bring new people in that may see you for the first time, say, oh, what's this all about? I'm interested in that. I want to see more. And an opportunity there is, obviously present the video or a little teaser, but also a link to your show. So say if you pre-schedule a show on YouTube or Facebook, put that link in there. Make sure that there's a we talk a lot about, Stephen, about call to action. So make sure that's in there, and invite people to come there. Another way you can use social media is it's an opportunity to engage with your audience in a more intimate way, right, and build community. Uh, Certainly, like we do this show for a half hour every Thursday. It's just 30 minutes every week, but there's other times. The world is 24/7. So, we present this on various social media platforms like YouTube and Facebook, and we have comments there. We can go back in and interact after the show and answer questions and interact with audience, and that's a good way to build audience and to extend that conversation, um, and certainly go there. The other thing I want to mention with social media, not only should it be about your own content or your own channels, but this is something that, and I know, Stephen, you're good at this as well. And this is something that people miss a lot to really build engagement and build audience. But go out there and spend as much time, or if not more time, engaging with other people in your same niche. So I'm going to use you, Stephen, as an example. You have a couple of niches that you're big in. Besides technology,
Hmm.
outdoors is a passion of yours, and you've been with now no boundaries outdoors for a few years now. And also, you're new into the retro gaming space, and you're doing a weekly show on Friday nights there. So those two spaces and engaging with and retro game the retro gaming show is a great example how you've built that by going out and engaging with other people that are big in that niche
Hmm.
and building community that way, and engaging with audiences. You're also good. I see, obviously with the Telestream, you're very quick to answer questions and engage and all that. And that's the biggest thing. You don't necessarily have to have content of your own all the time, but go out there and spend time into others. And it sounds counterintuitive because, like, why am I spending all this time in other people's,
Right.
channels or whatever? Well, because you all kind of share the same niche, and it's not. Think of it less about competition, more about building community, and more about being helpful, and that does come back to you. And I'll get into this a little later on about the authenticity piece, but that does kind of prove and that does kind of say, hey, you're about the niche. If you like, like in your case, retro gaming,
Hmm.
you should be doing that. So I mean, I'm sure you have some examples from your own personal examples there. So
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. You hit the nail when you said that about competition, right? Competition. Everybody's afraid of competition, right? So I've kind of built my brands. I've built everything that I do online. I've built it around making relationships with folks. Most of the people that I'm really close with, I've met in person. I mean, you and I are a perfect example.
mhm,
And I think that there's plenty of pie for everyone, right? So I think creating online relationships, but there's also that in person. Like I'm headed to NAB in April.
yep,
It's a great way where I can interact with companies, both my company and other companies. It's a great way to interact with folks that are like minded in the space and build on those relationships. But I also know that not everybody can be in person all the time. So it's a great way that, I mean, without the internet, half of us wouldn't have the jobs that we have today, right? So
yep,
I think that's key. Um, why don't we, before we get into the next point, let's talk a little
mhm,
bit about the Leipzig, Germany. So they
sure,
might have heard on the show a couple years ago. You got invited out to Leipzig, Germany, to do a presentation on professional video, and you invited
mhm,
myself and Mark Rogers to help you with this production. And so I'm going to put the video on, and I'll let you kind of talk us through it. We won't play
sure.
the whole thing, but I want people to kind of see where that internet meets real life realism comes from, right?
Yep, absolutely. Uh, so key. And we talk obviously a lot about digital presentation. This is the video. This was back, I believe, in 2016, out in Leipzig, Germany. And there you go, a little bit of it there. And Steven is actually running the show. I'm on location. Mark is in his studio in Connecticut. I'm in Germany. Steven's in his studio and we're actually running the show here. And the cool, unique thing about this event is I'm presenting to a live audience in the room I'm in, demonstrating the fact that you can also bring in a digital audience. So, and also remote control of the show. So all I'm doing is sending my camera and my feed to Steven. Steven's actually doing all the switching. He's adding the graphics in, and all that, and actually sending it out the internet. So we were actually broadcasting this live and bringing Mark in. And then I'm also bringing questions in from the audience in Germany. So either Mark or Steven can answer questions, and then the live audience is seeing, man, we're here in Germany, and we're bringing these other two guys in from the United States, and we're also broadcasting out to live internet to the world. It's a very unique combination of different strategies and different technologies, really. But when you mentioned Stephen about it's not all digital, it's also that physical nature. We're all human beings,
Yeah.
so the digital is really think of the digital and think of the streaming technology as an enhancement to building relationships. It's just another tool,
Yeah,
right?
and a
So
lot
we
has
always
changed
can't.
since then.
Oh, exactly. Oh, absolutely. And that and it's funny when we came up with this idea. and I presented it to the folks in Germany, the conference I was going to speak at. They were very intrigued, and it ended up being that this was the closing session of the conference, and it was great because I think they were really impressed. And the people in the audience, it was back in 2016, so this stuff was still fairly new. We're going through a lot of changes here, and I don't think a lot of people there really saw the potential until we actually showed them.
Yeah.
Now you see conferences being broadcast
Yep.
digitally all the time. You have live audiences and you broadcast it out to the world, and you can even take questions. And now with all the viruses and things like that, and what we're going through currently, kind of current events, it brings this up, and it brings it up even more importantly, where it still doesn't replace in person, but it's another layer.
Well, and that's something that they brought up. They were floored at the fact that we were able to communicate with them just as much as they could communicate with us when you offered in that video, and it's up on YouTube. The
Yep.
folks were like, they couldn't believe that they could ask us questions. They're all the way on the other side of the world, ask us questions about what we were specifically talking about. I was talking about the production side. Mark was talking about the on-air personality, and then
Mhm.
you were talking about. I actually forget what you were talking about. You had a piece in that too. You were kind of talking
Yeah,
about the
really the
importance.
in-person
Yeah,
part, and also just tying everything together, where I could host a presentation, but also
right.
bring 2 of my friends in and have another friend, yourself, actually control the digital portion.
And that floored them.
You know Yes,
That did. It really
yes,
did.
and it's funny too, I mean, we talk a lot about there were a lot of technical challenges with that, namely the video and audio delay, 'cause I was in Europe and you're back in the United States. There's technical considerations there. We are testing for weeks to try,
Yes.
and you brought in
Audio,
you brought
video
in special
sync, everything.
audio video sync and all. We were concerned about that, all little details. But it was a fun project to work on, and it really kind of really stretched us as far as our imagination, how we approached it. And I remember putting it together. It's like we thought of all this, like, what if people can't hear? How are we going to make sure people can hear in the venue? How can we bring you in? How can we, there's a lot of considerations there. But yeah, I agree with it. I think they were floored up at the possibilities of what could be done. To and this is great too. If any people in the audience, do video production, especially for business, I mean, this is something that it's in the 3 or 4 years since then, it's really become mainstream.
Yes.
We have these in-person conferences, but we also have the ability to be able to stream out and actually bring people in. And what you were doing with asking, or even we were kind of doing the opposite, where we had people in the audience there, and we were able to filter questions back to you guys from the people sitting in the auditorium here in Germany, versus and then bringing questions back, and they were able to hear your answers. And it was a lot of fun. It was a huge challenge, but it really can demonstrated the power of video, and the power of video in live events, in live physical events.
Yeah, and I think more and more we're going to see that as technology has changed a lot since even 2016.
Yep.
We've seen, my studio setup has changed since then and a lot easier now, especially with the Wirecast gearbox. It's made
Right.
my life a little bit easier. But speaking of the Wirecast gearbox, what we want to do right now is we want to give you guys an opportunity to check out a really cool Wirecast tip that we're going to hopefully try to do weekly. At least that's the plan. So take a look at this. Hey guys, a lot of you know me from the On Social show, and I wanted to bring you a Wirecast tip of the week. Outside of the show, I have my own podcast, my own videos, and things that I like to do, and sometimes it's not always feasible for me to have a producer. During the show, you guys notice you see a lot of cool stuff happening. I'm doing it myself. Well, when you're doing a demonstration like I'm about to do, you kind of need somebody there, or do you? With Wirecast and the playlist feature, you have the ability to automate some things. Let me take you over to the desktop now and show you what's going on. Okay, so we're over inside the Wirecast interface, and you can see I have nothing in here right now. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a camera shot because that's something that I'm going to need. So I'm going to add my built-in FaceTime camera. I'm going to quickly go through this. I'm going to add audio, which we're just going to use my built-in microphone just so we have some audio going through. And now what I want to do is I want to create another camera shot that's exactly the same. And what I want to do is I'm going to add the audio inside of here, and you can always duplicate it, but I want to go step by step and show you guys. Now what I want to do is I want to drag this right on top of the Wirecast shot that's there. That creates the playlist. So I'm going to double click and open it up. Now you're saying, well, Steve, why do you have two of the same shots in there? The reason being is the first shot, I am going to add a lower third to it, so that way I have a pretty cool title. Now I'm not going to add all the details on the title just for this demonstration so you guys can see how the automation process works. So I have my lower third, and now what I want to do is I want to add a media shot. I'm going to add my intro shot to this. So I'm going to come down here, and inside my Wirecast tip folder here, I have the Wirecast intro. So what I want to do is I want to move that to first. Okay, so that I'm also going to duplicate it because I also like to use that because I'm doing a tip video. Now I want to put that at the end. So now I have my video, I have my intro, and I also have my camera shots. So again, why did I create that many camera shots? So the first one, it's only a 2-second duration. This camera shot with my lower third, I want to change that duration by right-clicking on this and going down to modify duration. I want to change this to 5 seconds, basically where I give my welcome, and then what I wanted to do is I wanted to go to the next shot. Now the next shot is where I'm going to do a lot of my explaining. Maybe you have it written out, all of your what you're going to say. Maybe you have an iPad set in front of you with a teleprompter. However, maybe you know that the video is going to be under 2 minutes or 5 minutes, so that's what you want to modify this duration for. So what I'm going to do just for this video, I'm going to set it to 30 seconds. So now the first video is set to 2 seconds. The live camera is 5 seconds. Then it'll transition out of that and go to the camera. So it's going to drop the lower third. It's going to keep the camera up. Then after 30 seconds, it's going to go to my outro. And then that's it. So I can choose in the playlist what I want it to do at the end. I don't want it to loop. And I don't want it to go back to current preview unless I'm just doing a little segment and I want it to go back to my main camera where I can do some switching. If I want it fully automated, what I would like to do is maybe hold on the last shot so it goes in. So what I would do then is I would just create just a plain shot in here. I could go down here to shots, and I just go, let's say a new shot, just to give it a black shot. And the reason for that is after the outro goes, the black shot just makes it black. It'll look all pretty, I promise you. So now that I've got my playlist set up, I'm going to go back to the first item. We have it set to hold on the last one. And what we can do is I'm going to set the transition to smooth. I want it to go smooth so that way everything looks really pretty. So let's come back here, and I'm gonna pull this up here inside of my preview, and I'm going to hit play. Now, if you notice, there's now a countdown timer down here in the bottom corner, and it went really quick, 5 seconds. It went through, and like I told you, the Wirecast video is very quick, and I just mainly did it just to show you how this works. So the lower third comes up. You might want to do 10 seconds or whatever, but you're describing your video and you're watching your counter, and I've got 11 seconds left on before it goes to the outro. Hey guys, it was really great for you guys tuning in. We'll see you in the next video. And then when that's all said and done, it'll transition to your outro. The outro comes up, Wirecast, holds on the black, boom, you are done. And so that's a great way to automate your process inside of Wirecast to create a great video without having to do anything. We hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Tune in next week for more Wirecast tutorials. All right, guys. Well, I really hope you like that little tip. It's a great way if you're not sure. I know Marty and I were kind of talking about it during it was playing. You know, we basically stated how the power of Wirecast to be able to have production, have your lower thirds come up and down, possibilities are endless. And I just kind of showed you a really basic way of doing it, but you could set it up like we're doing now with 2 boxes, have them switching out, switching sources, whatever it is that you want to do. There's power in that. So take what I showed you and run it crazy. And if you have a crazy setup where you're doing some automation like that, send it to us. We'd love to see it. Yeah.
I love I use the playlist system all the time. Not quite like that. I use it in live venue situations to show electronic signage, and it's great. But that's a great tip because I don't think people really realize the power of playlists and the timing. And if you're a single producer, especially if you're just getting started, man, that is powerful. So I love that
So
stuff.
if you
So
guys really like those types of segments for this show, we're going to try to incorporate that. Let us know in the comments below of the Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube. Leave a comment. That's the only way we're going to know that you really like what you're seeing, because that helps us gauge the type of content. We want to do stuff and we want to produce stuff that you guys want. So we had some ideas about throwing that out there as content during the show. Take a little break from what we're talking about and give you guys that great Wirecast tip, so you don't have to wait around for post show. We won't do a post show. We'll just straight through, boom, and get and hit you with that content, because we know you guys got to get back to work. So Marty, with that said, um, the second point, you've got some other points here with your branding. Let's kind of get into that a little bit more.
yeah, second point, we talked a lot about social media networks, which is great. The only issue is it's somebody else's platform, so you don't own it. The one platform that you do own is email, and I say don't forget about email. Email is been around for a couple decades. It's old. It's reliable. Everyone's familiar with it. Everyone probably gets a lot of it. But email is your friend when it comes to building community. And the primary reason is it really offers you an opportunity to have a direct connection with the audience without the platform itself getting in the way, especially a platform you don't own. And I can't overemphasize enough the importance of that. People that are with you, that are part of your audience, not only does it give you a chance to have a direct connection, but it also gives them a chance to have a direct connection with you, right? So what does email do? I mean, besides offering and inviting people to give your email to you, you may want to have a newsletter. Say if you have a niche, you may want to offer a newsletter as far as information. So say it's video streaming and you know something about that, you could offer tips. I mean, what Stephen did with the Wirecast tip today was a good example.
Yeah,
And that's
because we could
some way
blast that
that
out through email. We could blast that right out through
exactly,
email. Yeah.
exactly. And that's one way that you can offer value to your community. It's another way that you can bring new people in. If they see that you're, generous with your knowledge and that you want to offer value and to your community, then they're more apt to be part of your community. Um, the other part of it is, you have that direct connection, and again, I can't overemphasize that enough. I mean, we've seen if you're relying just on social media, I mean, they can make any kind of rule changes they want. So having that email change, even if something comes up, you have that direct connection, and you can blast out an email, and really, it's between you and your audience. The third point is we talk a lot about digital, um, but digital's great, but we're still all human, right?
That's right.
So that doesn't replace it. Stephen, we talk about when we first met at an event, and when we first met in person, it kind of sealed the deal, and I call it sealing the deal as far as that. There's nothing that replaces that, and I think with social media out there, I think sometimes people can get away from that we're all still human beings. You need that in person stuff, and that's really really important to really kind of seal the deal and make sure that there's an authenticity there, and that's so important.
Marty used to joke a lot. He used to say, "Well, I really look up to you." And then when we met in person, he was like, "Yeah, I really do got to look up to you."
Even
Because when you're in
tall.
the boxes like this,
How
we
tall,
all
how
we all look
tall are
the
you?
same. I'm 6'2".
6'2". So I'm 5'10". So there you go. So yeah.
So when we met in person, Marty was kind of like, "Oh, hi," because you get used to seeing each other in these boxes, right? And
Yep.
that's realistic to you, right? So, and then when you meet somebody in person, you're like, wow, I just didn't picture you. People have said that when they've met me at NAB, and wow, I didn't realize you were that tall. But you're right. I think there has to be a healthy balance between online and also in person, especially when you're working with companies and things like that. So that's why I don't I don't always get to go out to California because of my situation here with my kids, my wife working. I have to be here for them too. That's the benefits of working at home. So when an opportunity comes up like NAB, where I can kind of kill two birds with one stone, where I can be at a conference and talk to companies and people that we work with, and also facilitate with my company. It's a great opportunity, and like I said, it kills two birds with one stone. I definitely think needs to be there, right?
Exactly, and that there's a reason why conferences have not gone out of style. In fact, a lot could be said that there are more of them than ever. Minus the current events that we're going through right now. Hopefully, that's temporary. But again, I go back to the authenticity, the real. It's so easy on social. It's social and the digital space to kinda maybe hide behind an avatar or not necessarily be real, and the folks that do that, I think are doing themselves a disservice.
Yeah.
Even folks like, we're what you see here is what you get. I mean, we are who we are, there's
Yeah.
nothing unique about us. I mean, this is how we are. Um, but it's still, meeting in person and having that direct connection, it kinda seals the deal. I know in business, when I get to meet clients, it just brings it to a whole different level, I know, and what's great about digital, obviously, is it gives you the opportunity to do things you wouldn't never really be able to do. I mean, obviously, you can't travel all the place, all the time, and digital allows you to interact with people. I mean, Stephen, we wouldn't have met without digital, without social.
Right.
But, as long as we're human beings, we still crave that in-person contact, and I'm telling you, something about it seems small, but there's something about it that, you kinda seal the deal is the best description I can give to it, so
And I know the comments have kind of been flaky here on Facebook for some odd reason or another, where they're, you have to refresh the page or whatever. But I don't know if you can see the comment from Michael in there. If you're able to read that for us, there, he has a really good point about posting to YouTube. I don't know if you see it on Facebook
oh,
there.
I gotta refresh let me
I
refresh the
know.
page.
See, so what it's doing right now, we wanna also take some time, even at toward when we get to the end of the show after we've presented the points or whatever we're talking about, to kind of look at your comments in the chat room here. And I see, like I said, Michael.
Yeah,
Uh,
I can read that.
yeah. So if
We
you want to
post
pull
to
that
you
up.
Yep. We post to YouTube, but also have a private network that we post to based on an LMS, learning management system. I think that's what that stands for. Uh, and do tutorials and tips to that private website. We also do live broadcasts to of our annual event to that private network, and that's a really good point. And that's what digital also provides. Is not only does it have to be public, but what Michael's mentioning is you can have a private network and do digital events and invite only events. And say if you have a company and maybe you're talking about company specific uh, ideas or company specific items that are not necessarily meant for public consumption, that's one way to do it. I've worked for companies that are global companies that you may have a message from the CEO, and how do you get it out to other satellite offices? Well, now you have the digital technology to do that, and that's a great example right there. Not only for company meetings, but as Michael mentioned, for tutorials or for learning opportunities that you may not be able to get everyone in one location. Digital Bail is provides the opportunity to do that. So
Absolutely. Well, guys, we're gonna have to wrap this show up. I really appreciate everybody coming out, but I do want to let you know I will be on a webinar slash live show next week. I think it's Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. It's gonna be with the video guys. So if you guys want to tune in, we're gonna talk Wirecast and PTZ optics cameras and PTZ cameras in general, and the use cases with Wirecast gear with the trend, Marty, going to PTZ cameras so people don't have to have actual camera operators. I don't know how much that saved me in
yep.
in self production. So that's coming up Tuesday. Watch our social media. We'll probably share it out on Telestream Wirecast to let you guys know it's live, so you guys can tune in or go over to the video guys, and that's this Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, 12 Pacific. And so tune in, and then we'll also be back here next week for more on social. So one of the things I want you guys to do, go over to the Facebook page, Telestream YouTube. or it's Telestream Tube is the name. If you go youtube.com/Telestream Tube and Wirecast Tube, there's two of them. The Wirecast Tube is the one where we post the On Social show, and we also stream it live to that YouTube channel, as well as post tutorials. Go subscribe to that. We'd love to see that channel grow, and all the other outlets that Telestream and Wirecast are found. We'd really appreciate if you guys head over there and subscribe to that. That way you're never missing any of the content we put out. As you just saw that tip video I did, there's going to be more of those that I'm creating that will be uploaded more than likely to those spots, as well as the Telestream main webpage. So again, if you really found that great, go subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. And Marty, I really appreciate you tuning in and being here, and with Jeff's absence as he's on location. But we really appreciate it. Check him out, Marty McPadden at podjam.tv.
Thank you, Stephen.
And guys, you can find me everywhere. Just look up the Tech Buzz. I'm also in the Wirecast users group on Facebook. If you're not in that group, go over and join it. I interact with people in there, try to help them with their Wirecast workflows. It's a great place to get assistance. So just look it up, Wirecast users on Facebook, and join it. And we'll all have a great time over there. But again, really appreciate everybody tuning in. And we'll see you all next week for more On Social.